right, Lord of the Rings on 4K. We got it here, guys. This is the only movie I have pre-ordered, and it's a 20-year-old movie. I got a couple hundred 4K discs that I've been collecting, and I've just been so hyped up about this, guys. And it's finally here. You guys can take a look at the packaging here. It's pretty nice packaging. If you're familiar with Warner Brothers, their Harry Potter 4K looks like this as well. Right, a little bit different back there. And it is a pretty thick case here. I did already sell the digital code, guys, so you won't see it in here, but it comes with a digital code that sits here. And then the discs are on these little doors. So the theatrical editions are first, and then the extended are after that. Let's talk a little bit about the packaging and some specs about the movie. So the extended editions are split across two different discs. They're both 100 gig discs, and about halfway through the movie you'll have to, swap the disc out. For me, this isn't really an issue. The movies are so long. I think Return of the King it's almost 4.5 hours. It's over 4 hours. I know that. And it was nice to kind of the spot that they put the intermission at. It's a good spot. The Fellowship, it's right before the Fellowship goes on their journey, right? So that was probably the best one. Return of the King, it was in the middle of some sort of action. I just watched Return of the King last night, so that's kind of fresh on my mind. I ended up watching Fellowship. I watched this over the course of a week. I watched the extended editions. So you have that. The plus side is they're both 100 gig discs, right? If they crammed everything on one disc, you're going to get a more compressed image and maybe audio. So I'm a fan of that. And tech specs, you guys can look it up if you want. I'm just going to go over the important stuff. Movies were shot on 35mm film. These are 4K DI and has Dolby Atmos, HDR10, Dolby Vision. What else is there to say, guys? Those are the tech specs. You're going to get the black bars on the top and bottom. Let's get into a little bit about the hype about this. If you guys go on any forums and specifically Blu-ray.com, this movie was hyped up before its release on December 1st. And I think a lot of people had really high expectations going into this, with especially the early reviews that were giving it, people were saying this is a reference disc. I'm just going to get this out of the way, guys. This is not a reference. Okay? It's not bad. It's a really good disc. The key points for this, the HDR and the Atmos are absolutely amazing. And this channel, this is the first video on the channel. Decided to make this channel. If you guys aren't part of the kingdom, right? If you guys aren't part of the OLED kingdom, you're on a different level. Okay, you're not gonna see what I'm seeing. When for example, Fellowship, when they're going into the Mines of Moria and Gandalf has his staff and he lights it up. Oh my, the HDR. You got the HDR contrasted with the deep inky blacks, guys. My God, it's looking good. Let's get in and talk about the video quality first. We'll talk about audio at the end, but if you've watched any other reviews, the audio is really good. So video, I'm watching on a Sony A8H 65-inch right here, and this is an OLED, of course. We're in the kingdom. And then for my player, I'm watching on a Panasonic 820, which does Dolby Vision. And I have a 5.1.2 setup. So I have Atmos. For the video, absolute, first let's talk about the films. Fellowship looks the best. All right. I thought Two Towers the first half looked pretty bad. I thought, I just watched Fellowship and I was getting into Two Towers and I'm like, okay, this one, doesn't look as good. Towards, the second part of Two Towers looked really good. It looked really good. When you see Rohan, guys, it looks really good. Not all of it. There's some shots that are a little soft, but there's a lot of shots where you can see all the riders of Rohan, their armor, the horses, especially the armor. The jewelry and the armor is just so detailed. And part of that is the HDR when there's reflections off the armor. But the other part is just the 4K crispiness. And then Return of the King looked the worst. Because you have the most CGI. These are 20-year-old movies. The CGI, it's 20-year-old CGI. If you guys have seen the 4K prequels of Star Wars, episodes 1, 2, 3, I'm going to say these look better than episode 1, but somewhere around episode 2 or 3. So keep your expectations around that. If you haven't seen those, then, they're on Disney Plus. That's all I can say. So video quality, let's go through Fellowship. Fellowship looked the best. Why? I think it had Fellowship has the least amount of battles. It has the least battle scenes. What that means is you're going to get a lot less CGI. Overall, when you don't have CGI, overall it's a mixed bag. You have some really good close-ups, especially on Gandalf. I think Gandalf looked the best. When you have a close-up on Gandalf, you can really see every hair. You can see it very detailed. The skin tones are very natural. Most close-ups are good. I'm going to say most. There's some that are waxy and DNR'd. If you guys don't know what DNR is, it's digital noise reduction. That's pretty much when they're in the process of restoring the film, especially if it's a film, with, natural grain in it. Whoever's job it is to do this, they enhance they take away the grain, right, to smooth out the picture so it looks more pleasing and smooth. Really what that's doing is taking out some of the detail of the grain. That's happening a lot in this movie. Some people say it's worse than others. What I'm going to say is the Fellowship looked really good, guys. Whenever there's CGI, it's going to look softer. Okay, that's just what's going to happen. Two Towers, as far as that goes, Rohan looked really good. There's other shots of Rohan, though, that, it just didn't look as good. I don't know if the camera was out of focus or what exactly. I don't know all the technical details. All I'm letting you guys know is what I saw with my eyes. And then Return of the King, there's just so much CGI in Return of the King that a lot of it is soft. Okay, so that's the bad. That's as far as the bad goes. There's some soft shots and there's some DNR shots. The good is the HDR. Guys, the HDR. The Dolby Vision in this is outstanding. A couple points I remember, because there's so many scenes. There's 11 hours of this trilogy if you're watching extended. I'm gonna give you guys like 2 or 3 scenes. One is Mines of Moria, which I talked about a little bit earlier. All the Mines of Moria scenes look amazing with the contrast. If you guys are part of the kingdom, if you're watching this on an OLED, it looks really good. Any fire, Mount Doom, the Balrog, when they're in battle and they have their torches and they're just walking around with the torches, or there's flame arrows or flame catapults, the catapults with the fire on that looks amazing. It really, really looks amazing. And then Gandalf, whenever there's a battle, and you guys know if you've seen these movies, the big battles when Gandalf comes and he has his staff and or he manipulates the sun where the the beams of light blind the enemy, it is absolutely, it's stunning in Dolby Vision, in HDR, you know, regardless of what you watch it in. So that's the good points. The HDR is really good. The highlights, the spectral highlights are really good in this. The contrast is good. I didn't see any banding at all. No banding in the sky. Even though there's not that much grain in it, there's almost no grain in the landscape shots. There's no banding. There's no crushed blacks. There's no, you know, it's a pretty clean transfer overall. Everything's pretty clean. Another point, the armor. I talked about this earlier. The armor with the, you know, how good it looks. Okay, and then audio. I'll just keep this short. The audio is amazing. The score is very strings and brass heavy. It just sounds amazing. The score, I mean, you guys know the score of Lord of the Rings. Sounds amazing. As far as bass goes, the Helm's Deep fight, when they go out for the last ride and Gimli goes, you know, he goes up to the horn. That's the key. That's the best moment of everything there. That moment. If you guys have a proper subwoofer, it's gonna be going crazy, guys. What else? For audio, Atmos. The key thing I remember from Atmos is the Nazgul when they're on their fell beasts and they do the screeching. Oh my! I mean, that's amazing. Any sort of arrows, you know, coming down from Atmos. It's really an Atmos demo disc. Everyone's, you know, if you watch other reviews, people say this. I'm just gonna keep it short. The Atmos is amazing. The whole audio, I'm gonna give a 10 out of 10. You know, what was I gonna say? Oh, and then when there's not a battle scene, if they're in the Shire, you're gonna hear birds chirping right from the beginning. That's what I noticed. The birds and the overhead effects and the surrounds. It's really well balanced. You know, for video, as far as, you know, let's take HDR out of the picture. I'm gonna have to give the video a 7 out of 10, right? It's just inconsistent. You have some really good 9 out of 10 crispy shots, and then you have your DNR'd blurriness that looks like, you know, worse than Blu-ray could be. You know, somewhere in between DVD to Blu-ray, and then you can get to, you know, that 4K. I think it depends, you know, there's a lot of CGI in it, and then also, you know, maybe when they were filming it, they just weren't focused exactly. Or they just did a bad job with the transfer, I don't know. And then the HDR, 10 out of 10, guys. So overall, you know, listen, none of this really matters. What matters is when you get this and you watch it on an OLED, it looks absolutely stunning, guys. So this, look, in stunning 4K, absolutely stunning. This is one of the most, this is the most fun I've had with a movie on 4K, guys. I enjoyed these more than the Star Wars transfers. I think they were better. Better than Harry Potter transfers. I'm just thinking of big blockbuster movies, you know, Iron Man, those came out, those were bad. You know, I think we just had a lot of bad releases besides, you know, there's some really good ones. Matrix, I'm talking about older movies, you know, The Matrix. What else was really good on 4K? There's a lot of good stuff. Most of the newer stuff is going to be spot on, but when they go back, I think they did a pretty good job with this one. Yes, they could have done better, but overall, my experience, I was blown away, and I'm gonna watch it again, guys. I'm watching them again. I'm watching the theatrical though, and yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. Catch you guys in the next one.